our broadcasting. It is less than graceful most weeks. YouTube certainly does not make it easy for broadcasters, for content creators, for folks who have a live weekly show on YouTube. So all of that aside, I am really excited and want to officially welcome you, greet you to SEM Mondays, my live weekly Q&A. It's part Q&A and it's part an energy healing session, and it's part gathering in global community, right? Gathering from wherever it is around the world you currently are, from your home or office or on the go on your mobile device, and have an opportunity to connect, opportunity for me to be able to continue to support you on your journey with source energy medicine. And for me, the energy healing segment of SEM Mondays has become very well received, and I just love that I'm able to share with you in a group context, right, within a group session, the things that are most critically important to your physical health and well-being. And that's actually what I would like to talk about here. Thank you, Marty. I just saw Marty says my voice is breaking up. Let me restart my audio mixer. Bear with me. That usually does the trick. That just takes a second, and Marty or Barbara Ann, welcome, greetings. Please let me know how that is. I hope it's a whole lot better. And if restarting that audio mixer did not take care of it, then we may not be able to do this here today. There's a bit of a lag, so I'm just going to pause here for a second and have a sip of iced tea. Thank you, Barbara Ann. Perfect. Alrighty. Take 3. So I'm not sure how broken up that was, but I'm just going to back up a little bit because this is important for you to know as I continue talking about what I want to talk about today. Let's back up all the way to the beginning. And an official warm, very excited for me. Welcome to SEM Mondays, my weekly live Q&A show. It's part Q&A, it's part energy healing, it's part gathering in global community, right? All from the comfort and safety of our own home or office, or if you're out and about on a mobile device. I think it is absolutely fantastic that we have this weekly, regularly scheduled opportunity so that I can continue to support you on your journey with source energy medicine by answering any questions that you might have. And then we also have the opportunity to share in what for me is always like just being wrapped in unconditional love, like a warm blanket of unconditional love. It's an opportunity to really focus on you, right? To be able to focus on allowing yourself to continue to heal yourself, hopefully without distractions, right? Hopefully without multitasking, and just allow yourself to receive these blessings, right? These gifts. There's, it's not by accident or by chance that we're all gathered here together today. And, the group energy healing session, beyond being wrapped in a warm blanket of unconditional love, it's a massive opportunity for you to be able to focus on your healing journey, your healing wherever it is, right? However many steps you have taken on your healing journey. And very often when we're getting towards the segment of SEM Mondays where we share in this energy healing session, I talk about how in a group session, I can't do everything that I can do when I'm working one-on-one with a client. And it's confusing for a lot of people, and I get a lot of questions around that. First and foremost, it's important for you to know, like, the reason why I do this group energy healing session every Monday is because the parts that I can share with you are the parts that are most important to your physical health and well-being. And the biggest difference between that style group sessions and a one-on-one session is the one-on-one session I can do so much more that I can't do in a group session unless I had a list of everyone who was in the group, and I literally focused, could do the general group session, but then I focus specifically on each individual, and there's a process that I go through to connect with folks one-on-one. And that's the style session that we just did in the master class, where we explored working within what I would characterize as the emotional body and the soul body. And it goes way beyond what I'm able to share on SEM Mondays, because most of the people who are even on the live stream, like, they never say hello, they never check in, they never ask a question. They're kind of sitting in the back of the theater, if you will, which is totally fine. But I have no way of being able to connect one-on-one, and it would be completely impossible to do it in this forum, even if folks did say hello, did put in their name. It becomes a much more lengthy process. So I'm explaining all of this because when I work one-on-one with a client, we work on goals and challenges, right? We're able to approach the challenges from a really wide variety of different tools, right? Different ways of being able to transform, balance, and restore challenges. And then towards the end, we end up working on goals to make sure that if you have a goal that's important to you, there's nothing that's in the way from you being able to be fully empowered and continue to work towards that goal, right? Most of what gets in the way can be simply summed up as resistance. And often it's subconscious resistance, but often it is conscious or unconscious. And the unconscious one is the trickiest one. And I talk about that a lot in very good depth and detail in all of our online workshops. But I think the important thing to remember is source energy medicine is really excels within the subconscious realm, within the subconscious mind. And then it's up to us to figure out how to work on healing consciously and unconsciously. And right, consciously and unconsciously is primarily looking at what I believe to be true about myself and others and the world and God and money and sex and relationships and career and creativity and race and gender and everything that's important, right? So I produced a while back a 30-day belief challenge that enables us the opportunity to be able to look at all of those, right, what I believe to be true, and shine a harsh light of introspection on each of these areas so that I can look at, is what I believe to be true about God and what I believe to be true about me and what I believe to be true about money. Is all of that true with a capital T? Or is it perhaps a lie that I told myself or somebody else told me, somebody in authority, that I bought into, and I never took time to examine that belief to see if it really is true with a capital T. And some things, that I held as true with a capital T are no longer true for me, right? So I've had a shift in perspective, paradigm shift, if you will. So I had the opportunity to create a new truth. So I often say in an ideal world, we would explore healing, which would hopefully lead to healing on the subconscious first and foremost, because it's the area of our being that has the greatest influence, right? So when it is expressing itself in an unhelpful way, it's my worst nightmare, right? And if you don't know much about the subconscious mind, or you haven't watched any of the videos in which I talk about the subconscious mind and how it's either your greatest liability, right, your greatest saboteur, or it's your greatest asset, right, and part of your winning formula. It's part of why you are successful at anything that you might want to explore. So there's a video on our YouTube channel where I literally talk about the subconscious mind like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because it's very much like that. And when it's calibrated low, you may not understand calibrated energy levels, but when the subconscious mind is calibrated low, it's my worst enemy, right? It will sabotage, it will sidetrack, it will lead to procrastination. It will lead to sometimes just being paralyzed, right? In not being able to take action, not being able to move forward, feeling like my feet are in concrete blocks and I can't make any progress. I'm stuck. When the subconscious mind calibrates high, ideally, when my subconscious mind is in alignment with the calibration of my soul or the spiritual aspect of my being, then that becomes the most beautiful partnership that you could ever possibly imagine. Conversely, when the subconscious mind calibrates low, its partnership, it goes into partnership with the ego, and that's the worst partnership that you could ever possibly imagine. So check out that video if you haven't seen it, and of course those of you who are in our fundamentals online workshops, what I talk about in there goes way, way, way beyond what is in that video. But I think it's vitally important for you to understand the nature of the subconscious mind and the power of it. And just in case you don't know anything about it, I think it's very, very, very reassuring to know that you didn't do anything to end up with a subconscious mind calibrated low. You were born that way. And that's true for probably 99.9% of people that I've worked with over the years since 2004. And it might be 100% true. I'm leaving that 0.1% open to an outlier, right? But it's possible that there is an outlier that is the exception to the rule. There's you did nothing to end up with a subconscious mind that is your worst nightmare. And B, it's really important for you to know that if you follow the sample protocol that's outlined in the Source Energy Medicine Quick Start Guide, the free course in Source Energy Medicine that really has everything that's essential to your journey with Source Energy Medicine. If you follow that sample protocol and you drink Source Energy Medicines that are outlined in the sample protocol, within 90 days, your subconscious mind is transformed from your biggest enemy to your greatest asset. So I love that the subconscious mind, as horrible as it is in terms of how it literally can destroy lives, and it does. I'm not being dramatic. Like a low calibrated subconscious mind is behind every addiction that you could ever possibly have to anything, and it is often behind, what leads to behavior that ends up ultimately ending someone's life, right? Whether it's self-inflicted or otherwise. So it is that serious. It is that intense, and it is that much of a stark contrast between calibrated low and calibrated high. So back to the different kinds of sessions that I can share, right? And this is true not just for me, it's true for all of our non-material Source Energy Medicine, which is the energy healing modality that's within Source Energy Medicine. All of our practitioners can do all of this as well. So SEM Mondays, I'm able to focus on, a few things, but the few things that I am able to focus on are the things that are most critically important to your physical health and well-being, which is vitally important these days. The pandemic continues, and we're going to live in a pandemic-like culture probably for a long time to come. And I know that sounds harsh, and yet, because of what I know about Source Energy Medicine, I'm totally okay with it, right? It's messed up in so many ways, and it's affecting things that are so bizarre and just seem arbitrary, but it just makes it difficult being a human. But knowing everything that I know about Source Energy Medicine and everything that I outline in the Source Energy Medicine Emergency Preparedness class, I hope you'll take massive advantage of that and learn everything that you can and have an emergency preparedness kit ready, right? Because as bad as things have been the last year and a half, we definitely have not seen the worst of this. And I like to think of myself as an optimistic guy, and yet that's just a bit of data, right? That's just, and we can each choose to put our head in the sand and ignore that, right? Deny that. That's negative denial, which negative denial never leads to anything. Or we can do something constructively about it. We can say that's some data, and yet I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to protect my family. I'm going to protect my friends and neighbors who are open to exploring source energy medicine, and then I don't have to worry, right? It's just a, kind of, it's a way of being able to rise above the battlefield, if you will, right, and being able to not be negatively affected by any of it, right? So when I work one-on-one with a client, we absolutely get into goals and challenges, and there are a handful of energetic shields that we employ. One is for psychic attacks, which runs the whole spectrum of, you walk into a cafe or a restaurant or a bar or a party, and you just feel like somebody is not wishing you well. And sometimes it's extreme, right? Like somebody would wish that person dead, literally, like that extreme. Psychic attacks are like voodoo dolls. Like, like that type of a thing is an extreme form of a psychic attack, right? And there's a lot in between. Just somebody looking at you who has either thoughts of sexual perpetration or physical harm, or just like not wishing you well, all the way to somebody who really does wish someone else dead. And I've worked with a bunch of clients who have, in spite of being very positive beacons of light in this world and really trying to help a lot of people, have been like viciously psychically attacked because, it's a form of energetic terrorism, if you will, because they're the Marianne Williamson talks about this all of the time. The problem with terrorists are they're much more passionate. They have a much stronger conviction to their mission than do people who just want to love each other and hug each other and sit around and chant all day, right? They tend to be less convicted and more passive in spreading love, whereas terrorists are very, very intensely convicted to their cause, their mission, their goals. So the energetic shield for the psychic attack, I think, is one of the greatest blessings that we can experience in source energy medicine. Can't be put in a charging label, unfortunately. But there are a couple of others: a shield for our soul, a shield for our emotional bodies, a whole handful of shields that are just really, really, really helpful. And as I started to talk about, when we work on goals and challenges, when we work on challenges, we can, as a practitioner, use a wide variety of different approaches and tools to be able to transform, balance, and restore. And often what the result is, I've heard from numerous clients, they say that their challenge, whether it was a challenge with their heart or their kidneys or their liver or central nervous system, regardless of where the challenge was, the results are, the feedback that I receive is often it feels as if energetically I have a new heart. And in a couple of instances, there have been clients who've been able to. So one client who's coming to mind had a significant heart surgery scheduled. And before the surgery, went in for one last round of tests, and the doctor said, "I don't know what happened, but your heart seems great. Your heart seems fine. Let's check in 6 months." 6 months later, doctor said, "Okay, I'll see you in 2 years." Like it was that good. A couple of other people had pending knee replacements, hip replacements, spinal surgeries, and were able to not have to go through those experiences, which I don't know about you, but that is, if that's not what I would characterize as miraculous, I don't know what is. And not that long ago, I was very hesitant to talk about miracles, but A Course in Miracles teaches us that miracles are our birthright. We literally should experience miracles all day, every day. And when I'm not, I'm blocking them or deflecting them or just not seeing them in some way. So they just get left on the table, if you will. So the being able to work individually on one-on-one with a client gives us tremendous amount of flexibility. Again, we could do stuff that we can't put into a charging label. So yes, it's the same technology as the charging labels, and yet there's a whole lot more that we can do with the energy work because it is infinitely more flexible, which leads to greater potential and possibility, right? So the kind of in between those two, right? So doing a group session on SEM Mondays, which is very, very short in terms of linear time, 5 or 7 minutes, and a one-on-one session, which is still short, still like 30 minutes, and the quote-unquote work part is 15 to 20. We're able to do so much more, certainly much faster than we're able to do with just exploring charging labels. And then this middle ground of a session is what we just did in the Soul and Emotional Body Master class. And that's where I literally just used the roster, right, the registration roster. And after I do the general group session, I go down the roster one at a time and focus on the individuals. Now, in that particular master class, it was all about the soul body and the emotional body. So in that instance, one-on-one, we were transforming, balancing, and restoring the soul, and then installing this energetic shield, and then putting it all together. And the same is true for the emotional body work, and there were a couple of other shields that we employed in that master class as well. So I'm sharing all of this again because every time that I say, in a group setting like this, I can't do everything that I can do one-on-one. I think some people think I'm like fishing for one-on-one clients and like I can't take on any more one-on-one clients. So I'm definitely not prospecting, right? I'm not teasing you to want a one-on-one session, but I think it's important for you to know the difference between these three types of sessions and what's possible in each of them. And we are exploring the possibility. I have committed to this new project. We have been exploring, and enough of the feedback came back positive enough, strong enough from our community that it's wanted. And it is an energy healing session club, and it's a group style session, except it is this middle one where I'm able to use the registration roster and literally focus attention and intention on every single participant in the group. And they're going to be relatively small groups. And we'll meet monthly on Zoom, totally private webinar. You can share your goals ahead of time by email, or you'll know exactly how you can share your goals or challenges with me for each session. And then the replays will be available so that you can literally revisit this same session every day for a month. I mean, you could revisit the same session every day long term if you wanted to, because each month is going to be different, and each month is going to be you get to choose a different goal or a different challenge. And there are going to be other things that we're going to explore in this non-material source energy medicine session club also. But I am the biggest part that I took away that really stands out for me, and I still keep thinking about it today, from the recent master class on soul and emotional body work, was this style of session, right? And it was something that I had done before in a couple of special events, and yet this was a bit different even than that. But having done that in these other special events that we've done over the years, it gave me the idea to be able to do more than what we're able to do in SEM Mondays, especially to be able to install the soul shield and the emotional body shield. I had to be able to connect one-on-one with each person. So, I needed permission from each person, and I needed their name. And there's a lot of other details in there, but I think it's really cool to understand the difference within these three. And initially, I was not going to open up registration for this non-material source energy medicine session club to our general community, but just offer it to our community, folks who are already engaged in our workshops. And word got out, and some folks who are not in our workshops yet, like they're relatively new to source energy medicine, were highly interested in this because it absolutely is the fast track. It's the fast track to being able to go through everything that's in the sample protocol, which if you explore it with charging labels takes about a year. And if you do it with the non-material aspect of source energy medicine, it can happen in a fraction of that time. And it can potentially be the fast track to positive results, which is the main reason why most people want to explore the energy work. So I hope that makes sense. And registration isn't open yet. I'm not sure when we're going to open registration. There's a whole bunch of logistical work, and we're still trying to compile feedback from our community because it was slow in coming in. And I get it. We're in the middle of summer, and I hope most folks are able to take advantage of summer. And I know we have people who it's the middle of winter for because they're in a different hemisphere. Our friends in South Africa, for example. So, for I think a largest majority of our community, Northern Hemisphere people who are experiencing the middle of summer, and at least some version of that because the climate is so, our Earth is trying to survive and we're trying to kill it. So the weather is, I think, a big reflection of that. So, if you have any questions, I'm going to continue to talk about the new club. Right? It's a monthly. It is a monthly club in that we will meet on Zoom once a month, and then in terms of registration, you'll have three options, and the three options are the same options as we've been using for last year or more for all of our online courses, and they are: you have a monthly registration option where you're billed monthly automatically, or an annual registration where it's one fee for the whole year, and that too renews automatically unless you cancel it, or a lifetime subscription. So it's a one-time payment for life. And within all of them, and with anything that we offer, you can cancel at any time. So it's just a way for us to be able to, logistically, to be able to do things as effortlessly as possible and to make it as easy as possible for you. So 3 registration options, so you can choose the one that is the best fit for you. So if you have any questions about any of that, please go ahead and type something into the chat. If you're here with me live, if you're watching this in replay, you can always leave questions in the comments, and I do my best to answer as many questions that come in there as possible, because the archive, this live is going to end up in a playlist from SEM Mondays, and there are some folks who leave comments to SEM Mondays replays that are more than a year old at this point, which I think is awesome. I think it's so cool to be able to have that resource available. So I would like to segue into the group energy healing session, because I don't see any questions in the chat other than some very warm hellos and the feedback on the problem I was having with my audio mixer. So beyond everything that I just shared, I think it's really important for you to know that a minimum of distractions on your end seems to increase the experience, right? Because there's less resistance. Distractions can be like multitasking while you're trying to heal yourself. I don't think is a good idea. Self-healing can be difficult enough without trying to do 19 other things. So I hope all of that makes sense. And, if you're in a place that's, a busy cafe or a restaurant, or you're at work and you can't, just check out the replay. It's really, really important for you to know that the replay is has the same amount, if not greater, potential and possibility. And I say greater because more people end up watching the replay, and that actually expands the morphic field, which is a field of potentiality. So there's, I love that A Course in Miracles teaches us there's no order of difficulty when it comes to miracles. Things that seem to be more complex, more difficult, more, has been in manifestation longer, doesn't necessarily have to take more time than something that just started yesterday. And there absolutely is no order of difficulty, because I think it's vitally important that you understand that even, especially in the energy healing part of source energy medicine, you are always healing yourself. I'm acting more as a guide, and I am helping you to remember how to do that, and I'm helping you how to see, helping your higher self really to see these parts of you that are creating resistance, right? Creating resistance to well-being, and the well-being can be whether physical well-being, financial well-being, relationship well-being, creativity well-being. Well-being shows up in dozens of different ways in our life. And each of those ways is a reflection of the calibration of that aspect, how much resistance I have, and how much allowance, and that's it. Can't be anything else. Those are the only three areas that are critically important when we're looking at whether it's dis-ease or imbalance or an area that is experiencing temporary lack. So I hope all of that makes sense to you. And the work is, this type of session is what I think phenomenally fast in terms of linear time. 5 to 7 minutes, something like that is typically what the ones are on SEM Mondays. And, there's no possibility of any kind of a healing reaction or catharsis or any re-stimulation of a emotional trauma or a physical trauma or anything like that, because we're simply transforming slow energy patterns to fast energy patterns. We're not trying to kill or combat or nullify or destroy anything. We're simply taking something that's not helpful and turning it into something that's helpful. And it is as can be as fast as walking into a dark room and turning on a light switch. Technically, the darkness is still there. It's just vibrating differently. It's just expressing itself differently, and that's exactly what we experience when we explore source energy medicine. So, I turn my camera off so I'm not distracting to you. There'll be, God willing, there'll be some chanting in the background. And the chanting has nothing to do with the work. It's just so that you know that we're still broadcasting, that something is going on. And when I come back, I'll scan the chat real quick for any last-minute questions, and then we'll have an opportunity to wrap things up for today. And then, God willing, I'll be back here next week for another installment of SEM Mondays. If you click that really cool little bell icon on YouTube, it'll let you know when I'm live, so you don't have to worry about checking your email. I don't know about you, but things that are important to me, I put in my calendar and I set 2 alarms so that I don't miss them. And certainly subscribing to my channel is the one of the best ways that I can continue to support you on your journey with source energy medicine. So my friends, go ahead and get comfortable on your end. And I always like to encourage you to pick just a single goal or a single challenge. I'm going to focus on the things that are most important to your physical health and well-being, to help to protect you during this pandemic, to help to ensure your vitality and physical wellness. But you can choose one goal or one challenge, and I encourage folks to just choose one because it's easiest to track, right? And you can choose a different one. Even if you watch the replay to this very same SEM Mondays, you could choose a different goal, choose a different challenge, because it is, again, you who is doing the healing, right? It is that divine aspect of you, that source energy aspect of you. You were source energy before you found source energy medicine, and part of this work is it's a homecoming, right? It's a taking that source energy, dusting it off, getting it into alignment with every other aspect of your being, which leads to full empowerment, right? It leads to alignment with your soul, which then enables you to get about the work that your soul came here to do in the first place. And life tends to be filled with much more grace, much more sufficiency, much more abundance. So I hope all of that makes sense. And again, I'll check the chat for any questions before we wrap up for today. But I'm going to go ahead and get things set up technically on my end. And on your end, I invite you to take a nice deep breath. being and simply allowing and simply continuing to give thanks. So being able to share these group sessions, especially on such a consistent basis, right? Most Mondays we're able to broadcast. There have only been a few when I haven't been able to because of personal reasons, not being available, being elsewhere. But, the being able to share this work in this context on such a consistent basis over such an extended period of time has really been a blessing to me in so many ways. I'm always uplifted and feel unconditionally loved while I'm helping to support you on your journey with Source Energy Medicine. So I just absolutely love that. And it's one of the reasons why I'm always so eager to connect with you every Monday. So I scanned the chat right before coming back on, and thank you for all of the very cool emojis, Marty and Trish. Deborah, thank you for your really kind comments and for being willing to share. Deborah shares, I highly recommend the non-material sessions in addition to the charging labels. They've changed my life, with a beautiful heart emoji. Thank you, Deborah, for sharing that. And, I see Source Energy Medicine as like an instigator of miracles. But just to clarify things, like, you changed your life. Source Energy Medicine certainly was an instigator. It was a tool. It was a vehicle that enabled you to achieve what you have been able to achieve, right? The blessings and the gifts and the miracles that you have experienced are all because of your will, your faith, your belief, your desire, and you're being willing to do the work, So I love that only I can heal myself, only you can heal yourself, and yet you don't have to do it alone. And it's one of the reasons why I created SEM Mondays, so that folks who are not exploring our online workshops have a community, right? Have a virtual community that we can connect to whenever feels good and appropriate. And if I had a very similar, my life changed since I enrolled in Source Energy Medicine, and I really appreciate your kind words, Vida, and I love that each of you that experience significant miracles, it creates greater and potential and possibility for the next person, and it actually makes it easier for the next person. So I love that. I've been sharing Source Energy Medicine since 2004, 2005, and our morphic field expands literally with every new person who begins to explore this journey of transformation, deep, profound transformation. And it absolutely makes it easier, right? It makes it easier for the next person, makes the amount of linear time shorter in most instances, and I think it's just such a gift, such a blessing, and it's here to be shared openly and freely, and with anyone who is even the least bit curious. So thank you, Sadhvjeet, for saying hi. I'm so glad Sadhvjeet tuned in just before the session, which is like absolutely perfect timing. So and you can check out the replay so you can catch up on the rest of it. Thank you, Deborah. Deborah shares, yes, open yourself to receive. That, my friends, is, just so beautifully stated, Deborah, that's it, right? It's all about aligning with my soul and then transforming anything that would get in the way of me being the greatness that the source of all creation created me to be, of you being the greatness that the source of all creation created you to be. And anything that's less than that, even 1% less than that, is still not your full potential, right? It's not your full possibility. And that's your birthright. All this other stuff is human created, right? The amazing philosopher, author, best-selling author Joel Goldsmith said that humanhood is something separate and apart from God, or it wouldn't be in so much trouble. Any difficulty, any dis-ease that we can ever experience is not punishment. It's not God. It's not karma. It's not retribution. It's simply energy level calibration, resistance, and allowance, right? It is human created. So I hope all of that makes sense, my friends. I have to scram-skedaddle or I'm going to be late for an appointment, and I really do value being punctual, being on time. And stay connected in our online community, whichever online community you engage in, whether it's YouTube or inside of our online workshops. And any questions, I'll, God willing, be here next Monday to answer those for you. And as always, I wish you continued blessings on your journey with Source Energy.